What's up, people? Welcome back to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. I hope everyone is doing well on this Sunday evening. I hope you've had a really nice day so far. We've got an absolutely massive show for you guys this evening, but before we jump on into it, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's get on into it. So on the show today, we're going to be doing our weekly Manchester United Takeover roundup, and we've got lots of news stories to bring to you and to discuss as a community. So let's jump straight on into it, and let's start with a bit of news that came out today. Now this one's maybe a little bit strange, but I think it's quite interesting. I've done a bit of research into this throughout the day, and once you get the source of who's said this, it becomes a bit more relevant. So there's a quote floating around on the BBC website today in the UK saying that Manchester United are going to announce their sale at 7.2 billion to 7.3 billion, which is roughly 10 times their current revenue. Now, this quote is coming out from a man called Mehmet Dalman, who is the Cardiff City chairman. You're probably thinking, why the hell are we talking about this person? I don't get the relevance, but this individual, Mehmet Dalman, was the person who brokered the deal when the Glazers originally bought Manchester United 18 years ago. He was the person who helped them get a majority stake in Manchester United. Obviously, it was their father who bought the club, not them. But when Manchester United was originally sold 18 years ago, this man, Mehmet Dalman, was the individual who brokered the deal. So that means that he was the one who ultimately got them the shares and all the rest of it. He was the one who handled the deal. And he's come out today talking about the prices of football clubs and things like that with the BBC Sports in the UK. And that quote has kind of slipped out in the middle of it, where he's ultimately said that Manchester United are going to announce their sale at 7.2 billion to 7.3 billion. Now, if this was just a random person, I would think, why the hell are we even bothering talking about this? And to be honest, when I first saw this quote popping up on Twitter, I was like, why are people even bothering anymore? It's just a waste of energy. So I did a bit more researching into him because I thought I need to at least understand who this person is, understand whether he might actually have any information, or maybe he's just trying it to try and be relevant. But when I found out that he was the one who brokered the deal, and he was the one who, in 2004, helped, he ultimately engineered the whole deal when the Glazers bought the club back in 2004, this individual. And then I was like, oh, this is interesting. And you know what? As soon as I read this quote, I thought, that sounds about the right type of money. I've said this for the last 2 months. I've said the Glazers aren't going to sell it for 6 billion. They're not. It's going to be closer to 7, isn't it? It's going to be somewhere between 7 and 8, because the figures that we see floating around will have to include the debt. Manchester United are in £1 billion worth of debt. So if Manchester United was to be sold for 7.3 billion, right? And then you take the debt off, that's about £1 billion. It would leave the Glazers with around 6 billion, 6.2 billion, right? Which sounds about how much you would expect them to get. We know that they wanted 6 to begin with, but we always thought that it was 6, not including the debt. The debt was a whole separate thing. They wanted their 6 billion. They wanted to walk off into the sunset with their 6 billion in their pocket. And this figure that's been floated around today from this Mehmet Dalman individual is saying that they will announce the sale at 7.2 to 7.3, which I believe. Not because this guy's come out and said it. I just think inside me, in my head, that's what I've thought for the last couple of months, that the sale will get done for around that type of price. So I thought it was interesting when we saw this one. Obviously, I'm not going to be running around in the streets screaming the Glazers have gone, and celebrating at this point, because it is just one individual. Yes, it is the man who sold the Glazers the club in the first place, which obviously does make it a bit more relevant and a bit more believable. But again, I'm not gonna put all of my hope on the line on this one, At the moment, he's the chairman of Cardiff City, so he is still in football. He is still, in the industry, but obviously he doesn't work for Manchester United. But you would expect if he did get the club for the Glazers all those years ago, back in 2004, he would still have some contact or communication with them. You would expect, wouldn't you? Because, I don't know what their exact relationship is. I don't know whether it's a working relationship, whether they're friends. I couldn't find out that bit of information. All I could find out was that he was the individual who brokered the deal in the first place. So he's obviously in amongst those types of conversations. So that was the first bit of news, which I thought was quite interesting. But do let me know what you think about that one in the comments section. Let me know if that excites you. I'm sure Some people it will really excite. Some people will think it's rubbish. Some people will probably won't even care. But let me know what you think in the comment section, because I always do like to see what you guys think. Now, the second one is something that's come out from the Times today. So this journalist, Martin Ziegler, is apparently reporting that Ed Woodward is in the process of writing a book about Manchester United, about the Glazers and all the rest of it, okay? And he's put out a quote this morning. This is coming from Martin Ziegler, who writes for the Times in the UK. And he's saying, Manchester United's takeover has stalled as the Glazers wrestle with legal and regulatory issues. And those close to the process say there is talk that Ineos are exploring imaginative ways in which they may be able to break the deadlock. So this is somebody who's clearly on the, you know, on not on the Sir Jim Ratcliffe side, but he's putting out these pro Sir Jim Ratcliffe stories that, you know, his information is that Ineos are actively, trying to get something over the line by thinking of something innovative, you know? Oh, what can we offer? Maybe we can keep 50% and give the Glazers 50%, you know, something like that. They're trying to put something together. But for me, this is just the same old news that we've been hearing for the last 6 months. We know that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is trying every possible trick in the book to try and get the Manchester United club for himself, you know? So with this one, doesn't really change anything for me. I still just think the same. I think that the regulatory issues will still be there with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. You know, the fact that he only wants to buy half of the club, the fact that he's not buying all of the club, it causes so many issues with the shareholders and all the rest of it. We've spoke about this so many times on the channel that I just don't see how it would be possible. But as this journalist has said today, he's trying to think of more ways to get around it, you know, which I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's trying everything he possibly can to try and get Manchester United. That one I'm not as excited about. I think it's a little bit samey. It's what we've seen over and over again. And the interesting thing was that apparently The Athletic reported something similar to the Cardiff City story back in June, and then the share price, which then increased the share price, which is a bit strange, isn't it? You know, I do always wonder with this takeover thing, like, is there any hint of stock manipulation going on here? You know, one positive story comes out, the stock price goes up. One negative story comes out, the stock price goes down. From my perspective, I just really, really feel like they need to tell us what's going on now, because it's just gone on for far too long. It's been going on since November last year. People are sick to death of it. People really, really want to know what's happening. And as a result of that, there will be protests tomorrow at the Wolves game. The 1958 group are organising a peaceful protest. I think it's starting at 6:30 p.m. at the Trinity statue. They'll be going there, they'll be marching to the ground, obviously letting their opinions be heard outside the stadium before kickoff, which obviously, if you are going to the game tomorrow, as long as you are out there to do a peaceful protest, obviously I do encourage you to get involved with that if you want to have your opinion heard. But yeah, overall, it's gone very, very quiet. If you want my opinion, which I assume some of you do because you're watching the video, I still think they're going to sell to Sheikh Jassim. I still think it's going to happen. I think that, one, they're probably waiting until the transfer window ends, just because otherwise clubs are going to rinse us even more than they have already. Imagine if we'd have already announced Qatar now. Rasmus Højlund would be 100 million. Mason Mount would be 80 million. Onana would be 70 million. You get where I'm going with this. If we had this unlimited wealth that, you know, Qatar could potentially bring, all of those players we bought this summer would be even more inflated than what we've already paid. So I think one part of it is that. And then the other part of it is just how this transfer window has been so far. We did a video on the channel yesterday. We've got rid of 9 people this summer. I know you're thinking, who are these people? But including free agents, including other people, we've cleared about £60 million worth of wages off our books since the beginning of the transfer window. That isn't the kind of thing the Glazers do. The Glazers are the type of people who hand Phil Jones a new contract. They keep Harry Maguire. They say, we don't need a new goalkeeper. We keep David De Gea. I do feel like this transfer window does feel a little bit different to me. That's just my own hunch. I feel like people are leaving the club, or at least they're putting people up for sale. Whether or not the people end up going is obviously yet to be seen. You know, like Harry Maguire, he still hasn't gone. We're expecting him to go in the next few days. But I don't know. In my heart, I do think that the Glazers will go, and I do think they will sell to Sheikh Jassim. I just think it's one of those ones where at some point in the next week or so, we'll get some big news. I think it will be, as I said, once the window closes, which is at the end of August. But do let me know how you're feeling about this one at the moment. Let me know if you're feeling positive about it, if you're feeling negative. Do you think it's going to be Sheikh Jassim? Do you think it's going to be Qatar? Who do you want as well? Like, who is your preferred option? Let me know in the comment section. We don't speak about the takeover that much anymore because I find it a little bit tiresome. So I try and compress it all into one show once a week, and we can just wrap up everything that's been discussed. But thank you very much for watching. This has been Daily Red Devil. I've been Kieran, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.